What's up, everyone? This is Strange Skull back with a movie review, and this time with a review of Fantastic Four: First Steps. Well, I wouldn't expect to say this considering all the trailers we've seen, the press tour, some of the actors, but I did not hate this movie. I liked it. I really liked this movie. All the things that I was afraid that this movie was going to have in it weren't. It's kind of funny. It's the most grounded but yet fanciful Marvel movie yet. I mean, if you look at the entirety of the MCU, it's pretty, it's grounded in our world, sort of like our technology, but just maybe a little bit more, like with Iron Man tech and Hank Pym's, the Pym particles to shrink and stuff. But this movie, with it being in like a hyper-realized 1960s, and all the, no pun intended, fantastical technology that they have in the movie, the story is really grounded. I really can't get into more of it without spoiling it, so, pretty much the plot of the movie, this could be non-spoiler part, I'll let you know when we go into spoilers, but pretty much the main plot of the movie is we're 4 years into the Fantastic Four's career of being superheroes. The movie starts out, they're on like a 1960s type TV show. I'd say it's almost kind of like the Johnny Carson show. But anyway, that's how they show the origin of the Fantastic Four in like flashbacks, which I appreciate, because I don't need to see them go into space. This is just like, if they do a Batman movie, I don't need to see the Waynes murdered again. Just like in a Superman movie, I don't need to see Krypton blow up again. Everyone on this fucking planet knows all these pretty much characters' origins. But I think they handled the Fantastic Four's origin pretty well. And you do get to see flashes of them fighting their villains from the comic books. And they mentioned the Mole Man. He plays a part in there. Small part, but anyway, it's like you got the Mole Man in there. Bring up the Wizard, the Mad Thinker, Diablo, the Super Apes, and the Red Ghost, which unfortunately he was cut from the movie, which sucks because I really wanted to see that. But anyway, it's like they're into their career. Sue finds out she's pregnant. And then we flash to when they tell Johnny and Ben that she's pregnant. We flash forward again, almost 9 months later, and the Silver Surfer shows up. Galactus is coming, and now the Fantastic Four have to stop Galactus. That's pretty much the story. Them trying to stop Galactus. Now, I guess the thing I gotta really go into is Pedro Pascal. I didn't hate him in this movie. Again, it's like, he was okay for the role they wrote. I could see why a lot of actors turned it down, because he's not really like Reed Richards in the comic books. Let's just say that. It's more of the neutered Reed, but I didn't hate Pedro Pascal in this movie. He didn't ruin it. Vanessa Kirby as Sue, I think she did a damn good job being Sue Storm. And Johnny and Ben were fine. I wish they would have bickered a little bit more, but other than that, they were perfect. And I loved Herbie. I thought he would be annoying, but Herbie was a great addition to this movie. The Silver Surfette, well, she sucks. I don't care. She's really not in the movie a whole hell of a lot. She doesn't do much, but there is no reason why it had to be Shia LaBeouf to be the Silver Surfer and not Norrin Rad. There's no fucking reason why they needed to change this, because you could have just kept Norrin Rad in this, and the only thing you'd have to change is the fact that Johnny wants to bang Shia LaBeouf. That's the only thing. And the guy who plays Galactus is fucking awesome. The way they portray Galactus in this movie, he is just a force of nature, just like he is in the comics, and there's no negotiating with him. And there's no, like, reason to physically fight him, because he's pretty much a space god. And God, I just can't talk anymore with this. But I will also put this. They don't mention Dr. Doom, but Latveria is shown to exist in this world. They never bring it up. They never talk about it. But there's a scene at the UN where all of them are trying to, like, come to this agreement, and they specifically show the Latverian delegate is not there. And it's plain there, because there's the card of Latveria, but they don't say anything, they don't mention it in the rest of the movie, and I can't really go in anymore without spoiling it, so I'm just gonna give it my rating. As of right now, how I feel coming out of the theater, I give this movie, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I know a lot of people other reviewers have given it like a 5 or a 6, but I'm going to give this an 8 just for the fact that it's focused. It doesn't juggle around the 50 different stories. It stays on point. The effects are good. The world looks believable, and the movie's fun, in my opinion, and that's what I go to movies for. I'm not going there to get lectured or learn about the facets of the human existence. I'm going to movies to escape my reality for an hour or two and have fun, and I gotta say, I had fun with this movie. It was good. There's no SJW, woke, whatever you want to call it. There's none of that shit in this movie. There's no girl boss moments. So if that's what you guys are afraid of, it's not in this movie. Go see it for yourselves. Now, we enter the spoiler section. If you don't want to get spoiled, stop right here, go see the movie, and come back. You have your warning. 3, 2, 1. Alright, we're going to get into spoilers here. The movie, I have minor gripes with the movie. One, I wish Reed would have been written more like Reed Richards, and not such this almost autistic, unsure of himself guy. I mean, in the comics, Reed, it's a character flaw that Reed doesn't really have good interpersonal skills, because he's such an egghead and a scientist that he's always thinking of things, and he forgets just like, oh, hi, Ben, just like normal human interaction stuff. Reed sucks at that, but that's why he has Sue, and they dialed it a little too far up in this movie with Reed's kind of trouble interpersonal skills, where it's like Reed does take charge in situations, and in this movie I feel they pulled too much of that back and made it more where He can be indecisive. But again, like I said, small gripe. Still, the biggest gripe in the whole fucking movie is the fact that Norrin Radd is not in this movie, and they chose Shalabal to be the Silver Surfer, which they never call her the Silver Surfer. It's never mentioned. They just call her the Herald. So, what the fuck was the purpose of even putting her in this movie? My other gripe with this is, this would have been the perfect time to have Uatu the Watcher show up, because he was introduced in the Coming of Galactus story in the original run of FF. He's not in this movie. But I did like that Mole Man was in it. I can't remember the actor's name who plays him, but he was in Cobra Kai as Stingray. They keep him in the movie sort of almost like a joke, but he plays a part in the fact that Sue negotiates a peace treaty between Subternia, where Mole Man lives, and the surface world. Again, I like that they threw that in there, but the problem is there's no Moloids. We don't see any of the Mole Man's other creatured as Moloids. We do see the one that everyone has seen, the famous picture where the green monster's coming out of the ground and the Fantastic Four are fighting it. That's the only Moloid we get. And I've said before in the video, they do make mention of the other FF villains, which I got a kick out of. I mean, they talk about the Mad Thinker, but we don't see the super amazing android. I wish we would have. But like I said also too, they don't talk about Dr.Doom at all, and I view that as the biggest fucking mistake in this movie. I know they want to save all their surprises for Avengers Doomsday, but this is supposed to be the Fantastic Four doing them right. Dr.Doom has to be mentioned, and they don't mention him. It's like they almost go out of their fucking way not to talk about Latveria. Because the whole plot of this movie is they go out to confront Galactus and they get their asses kicked. Because Galactus will spare Earth if Reed and Sue give up Franklin. Because in the comics and in this movie, Franklin has cosmic powers. And Galactus wants to take Franklin and pretty much have Franklin take his place of being the Devourer of Worlds, so Galactus can pretty much die. Because he's tired of his endless hunger. And I gotta say, they did, I view, the best interpretation of Galactus. I wish he was more colorful. I wish he would have the purple and blue. I'm tired of everything being in dark tones. Everything else in this movie has bright colors. I love the FF's costumes. I wish they were more uniformed. Like, I like that Sue and Johnny have the white around their collars, but for some reason Reed doesn't. I don't like that, but anyway, moving on. The whole plot of how to get rid of Galactus is Reed's been building like teleporters. He's been testing it, and that's how they're going to do it. They're going to try and teleport Earth to another side of the galaxy to get away from Galactus. But of course, the Silver Surfer stops that, and this is where I view why it's bullshit. They show Latveria is existing in this world, but they have to get the entire world to help build these teleporters with resources and everything. But I'm sorry, they don't mention Latveria. I view it this way, of all the people who would be like to put a fork in all this to fuck everything up would be Dr. Doom. But apparently Latveria goes along with this, which I view as a big fucking mistake in this movie. But anyway, they lure Galactus onto Earth to after Silver Surfer destroys, Surfette destroys the teleporters, and Johnny kind of fucks with her head, where Reed's been recording messages that he's been getting from space, and Johnny translate them all, to some of them actually being from Zenla, trying to find Shalaba and thank her for her sacrifice, which they do a backstory. It's literally like 10 seconds showing her with her daughter sacrificing herself to Galactus, which, again, it's pointless. It's like, again, this should have been Norrin Radd. And her story of her sacrifice doesn't make any... to me, it's not, oh, this is more impactful. Norrin Radd's sacrifice is more impactful is because it's like a double-edged sword. Zenla is a paradise. Why would you want to leave it? But Norrin Radd wants to go explore the galaxy. Well, he does. But he's not Norrin Radd anymore. His Galactus sort of takes his soul when he becomes a Silver Surfer, and he's destroying planets. Even though he gets what he wants, it's the wrong way. That's why Norrin Radd should have been in this fucking movie as the Silver Surfer, not the Surfette here. Anyway, we'll move on. She destroys the teleporters, so they got to lure Galactus to the one in New York and Times Square, and they use Franklin as bait to try and suck him into the teleporter. Now, this is a pretty badass scene where Galactus is walking through New York. They're throwing everything at him, and he's just shaking it off. And Reed actually does do some damage to him. Like, they have it where Galactus has like nodes on his back, and Reed opens one out and lets like some energy out, and it weakens him a bit. But I gotta admit, the scene next is Galactus grabs him and just like Stretch Armstrongs him, trying to like snap him, which is a pretty damn good scene. And it's like, wow, fuck, they almost killed Reed there. And this is the scene I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna bitch about next. They're gonna say, oh, this was a girl boss scene, but I don't see it this way. Galactus gets Franklin, and Sue wakes up. She got knocked out. She was in the Fantastic Car and it got wrecked. She gets out of it and sees Galactus has Franklin. She starts using her force fields to grab him, and he's just like brushing it off. And then she just like full on throws everything at him. He starts pushing her back, but then she just throws all her focus into her force fields to push him back into where the transporter is. And now everyone's gonna bitch about this, like, oh, that's a Mary Sue moment. No, she's literally throwing her full concentration, and you can see it's starting to like damage her and kill her, because she's starting to lose like her transparency. And even when Reed and Johnny and Ben wake up, Reed's trying to tell her to stop. She's going too hard pretty much. But they manage to get Galactus in there. They turn the transporter on, but it's going to take 37 seconds to like zap him out. They push him in, but then he like claws his way back out, and Johnny's going to sacrifice himself and hammer him back in. But the Surfette comes in, pushes Johnny out of the way, and she collides with Galactus, and they get sucked to some ass end of the universe. But Sue pretty much dies. She used everything to try and save Franklin and get Galactus out of there. And Reed's doing chest compressions. And this part where I know people are going to bitch too, I felt like I thought it was an emotional scene where this is Reed in the comics would break down like this, because he would be like, please, Sue, don't leave me. Don't leave us. And it's like, they stop the chest compressions and they put Franklin on Sue to like say goodbye. And Franklin uses his powers and brings her back to life. And then they cut to, they save the day. They have a funny scene where they're back on the talk show, but then they get a call and they're trying to put Franklin's car seat in the Fantastic car and it's not working. They finally get it. It's the only like really joke scene in the movie. And then we get to the end credit scene, which has been spoiled, but Sue, it's like 4 years later, Sue's reading to Franklin and he wants another book to read. She gets up, gets his book, and she's walking back. The music changes and she like senses something. And she's like building up a force field and she goes around like their fireplace. And there's Dr. Doom. And Franklin is touching his face and Doom's there. You know it's Dr. Doom. He's got the hood, the green hood up. He's got the armor on and he's holding his mask. And what I think's really going to happen is I truly don't think Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Dr. Doom. I think he's having, because Franklin is touching his face, I think he's having Franklin change his face to be Tony Stark so he can infiltrate the 616 universe. But that's the big spoiler. And the thing at the very end, after all the credits, there is a very touching tribute to Jack Kirby. And this universe where the Fantastic Four are is called the 828 universe. It's the month and day of Jack Kirby's birth. So that's a little touching and a nice tribute to Jack Kirby. Like I said, I liked this movie. I felt good through the whole movie. I wasn't bored. I wish they would have had more scenes of Reed using his powers and doing like cool stuff, but this really wasn't a super action-packed movie. This is more like a sci-fi movie, which I appreciate. This was just a good movie. I liked it. That's pretty much it. And again, I was hoping this movie was going to be good. I was afraid this was going to be a shit show because I love the Fantastic Four. I grew up with the cartoon, the 90s one, and then I also had the 1970s cartoon on tape where they had to replace the Human Torch with Herbie because they didn't want kids setting themselves on fire. Whatever, but anyway, I'm kind of rambling. Like I said, I give this movie an 8 out of 10. Go see this. You'll enjoy it. Now, I don't have it with me, but I did manage to score the Galactus popcorn bucket. And I'm glad I did because my local Regal Theater only literally has one left. And also, too, shout out to my buddy Spaceman for grabbing one, too, up at his theater. So, we both have the Devourer of Worlds. Now, alright, I'm going to end this video here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree with my opinion of this movie, or do you think I'm full of shit? Anyway, that's up to you. So, take care, guys.